The conference room fell silent the moment the old man stepped inside. His slow footsteps echoed across the polished floor, carrying a kind of wisdom that felt older than the walls of the towering corporate building themselves. And that's when the moment happened, the moment that would shake an entire company within 24 hours. Because when Evelyn Hart, the celebrated young CEO, sharp suit, sharper ambition, walked toward him with cameras flashing, she did something that stunned everyone. She refused to shake his hand. People whispered. Screenshots spread online instantly. And no one in that room, not even Evelyn herself, realized that by the very next morning, she would be the one begging for his help. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because what you're about to hear is a true lesson in humility, humanity, and unexpected redemption. It all started at the annual Investor Summit of Hart Tech, the fastest growing software company in the country. Evelyn had built it from a garage-sized dream at 25 to a multi-billion marketplace at 39. And today, she was meeting Clarence Rowe, a retired investor known not for flash or fame, but for quietly saving dying companies with wisdom, patience, and belief in people. But Evelyn didn't see any of that. She saw his wrinkled hands, his old suit, his slow walk, and when Clarence extended his hand with a gentle smile, a smile full of history, Evelyn paused, looked at the cameras, then clasped her own hands behind her back. "We'll skip the formalities," she said stiffly. "Let's get to business." A ripple of discomfort moved through the room. Clarence's hand remained in the air for a heartbeat longer. A heartbeat full of silent hurt. Then he lowered it calmly, as though he had seen pride many times before and forgiven it long before it was committed. The meeting resumed, but the atmosphere had changed sharply. Evelyn talked over everyone, dismissing opinions, shutting down suggestions, bragging about projected numbers as if the company were invincible. Clarence watched quietly the whole time like a historian observing a civilization right before its fall. When the meeting ended, he stood, closed his notebook softly, and said, "Thank you. I've heard enough." Evelyn nodded, thinking she had won. But her CFO leaned in with panic once Clarence walked out. "Evelyn, that man was considering investing $50 million. That funding was our safety net." She pretended not to care. "If he's offended over a handshake, then we don't need him." But what she didn't know, what no one knew, was that Clarence Rowe had far more influence than any investor she had ever met. That night, while Evelyn celebrated her successful meeting at a rooftop restaurant, her board members were receiving quiet messages. Clauses were being pulled. Partners were stepping back. Major investors were suddenly reconsidering their positions. By midnight, 10% of Hart Tech's value had evaporated. By sunrise, 25%. When Evelyn arrived at the office the next morning, flashes of red numbers lit up her screens like warning sirens. Panic raced in her chest. Her phone buzzed non-stop. Major investors were withdrawing. Contracts were frozen. Employees were whispering in hallways, staring at her with uncertain eyes. "What happened?" she demanded. Her legal head answered quietly, "Clarence Rowe happened." Evelyn's stomach dropped. "He didn't badmouth you," her CFO added. "He simply told everyone he didn't trust your leadership. And they trust him more than us." The truth hit her like ice-cold water. One single act of arrogance had begun to collapse everything she built. By noon, the board demanded an emergency meeting. And for the first time since she became CEO, Evelyn felt her confidence crack. After an hour of arguing, blaming, defending, and pressuring, she finally stood up, grabbed her coat, and walked out of the glass tower, straight into the crisp afternoon air where Clarence Rowe was sitting on a bench outside, feeding pigeons like nothing in the world concerned him. She stopped in front of him, breath heavy, pride broken. "Mr. Rowe, I need your help." He glanced up at her gently. "You refused my hand yesterday." Her throat tightened painfully. "I was wrong." He nodded slow, as if letting the truth settle. "Tell me," he said, "why didn't you shake it?" Evelyn swallowed. "Because I assumed, because I judged you. And I told myself it didn't matter. But it does. Everything we do matters." Clarence set the bag of seeds aside, brushed crumbs from his lap, and stood, not tall, but steady, as though rooted by decades of experience. "I didn't withdraw because you didn't shake my hand," he said quietly. "I withdrew because a leader who can't show respect in public will only show arrogance in private. And businesses don't fail from outside threats, they fail from the pride inside." His words pierced deeper than she expected. Evelyn's voice cracked. I know, and I want to change it. I'm asking you to give me a chance. Clarence looked into her eyes for a long moment, searching for sincerity buried under years of hardened ambition. And when he finally saw it, the raw, vulnerable truth, he nodded. I'll help you. Not because you asked, but because I believe people can still learn. Relief flooded her eyes. Thank you so much. But, Clarence added firmly, there is one condition. She straightened. Anything. You will walk into that building, he said, pointing toward the giant glass tower, and shake the hand of every employee, from the lowest position to the highest. With respect. With humility. With intention. Evelyn felt tears build. I will. And then, Clarence said gently, you and I will rebuild your company, not with pride, but with people. That afternoon, employees watched something they never expected. Their CEO, once distant and untouchable, walked floor by floor, department by department, shaking hands. Apologizing. Thanking them. Listening. And Clarence walked beside her slowly, guiding her with quiet nods and soft reminders that leadership is not power, it's service. By evening, news had spread. Investors returned. Contracts resumed. Stability was restored, not because of profits or numbers, but because a humbled heart leads better than an arrogant one. Weeks later, Evelyn stood on stage at another investor summit. Clarence Rowe was seated in the front row. This time, she walked straight toward him with a genuine smile, and extended her hand first. He took it warmly. The room applauded, not just for the partnership, but for the transformation they had witnessed. And as Evelyn looked out at the audience, her voice steady and touched with emotion, she said, the greatest investment any of us can make, is in becoming better humans. If this story touched you, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and share it, because someone out there might need this reminder today.